So lately, I've been thinking a little bit about vigilance and ADHD because I have ADHD and I am a security guard, which, of course, you always want to be vigilant when you're a security guard, which basically means you have to pay attention to things that are going on around you. And paying attention is kind of hard when you have an attention deficit disorder. So I was thinking, well, what if vigilance is like the ability to basically aim your attention, uh, basically anywhere, basically in scan mode. So you're aiming your attention everywhere around you in scan mode. And so it got me thinking, okay, what is attention like? Can you really do that? Is it possible? For me, attention is very much like a spotlight. Like if I can aim my attention to one place and pay attention to one thing, kind of makes the everything else kind of shady and dark, and it doesn't really work very well. So for me, attention is kind of like a spotlight as a person with ADHD. And that spotlight does not always function well. It's kind of like having a faulty spotlight where sometimes like the light gets dimmer, so everything looks a little bit dark and fuzzy. You can't make out too many details. If you compare that with a normal person, I don't know if normal attention is like a spotlight or not. You can, comment, tell me whether or not it is for you, because the only thing I know is, my own perspective and my own attention, and that is very much like a spotlight, and it's probably why people say I have tunnel vision, because, that's what it's kind of like. So sometimes the light is a little bit dimmer, sometimes you don't have good control over where it goes. So sometimes, like, you're trying to put your attention towards this thing, and instead of doing that, on the way, you spot something and then you stop and look at that, and that's where your attention goes, because it's malfunctioning. You're like, okay, let's get this spotlight over here. Let's direct it over here, and over here is this cat video or something that got in the way, and all of a sudden now I'm thinking about that, and that's what I'm paying attention to. Also, sometimes you can't control it at all. Sometimes, especially when, like, I'm really sick or I'm really sleep deprived, this will happen where I just don't have any sort of control over where that spotlight goes, and it just it tracks movement. If something's moving, I'm like, oh, hey, there's a ceiling fan right up there. Pretty. Not really. It's annoying. And then, if it just kind of goes from thing to thing, it can go fast, it can go slowly. Sometimes it feels like there's, gunk in the wheels that turn it. So it's kind of like those shopping carts that stick. You can't really get it going to where you want it to go. You try to aim your attention towards this thing, and then it kind of haltingly goes there. Like, you're paying attention for a little bit and then it stops, and then you have to refocus. That actually happens to me quite a bit, especially when I'm focusing on things that are maybe a little bit difficult to grasp. Like, it happens a lot when I'm trying to study math. Like, I get this problem and I'm trying to hold the numbers in my head, and then my stream of focus gets interrupted, and so I have to start all over. Or, like, if I'm reading a book, I read the paragraph and then I realize I haven't processed any of it. Like, it was just going, my attention went somewhere else while I was reading that paragraph, so I have to do that again. And it might happen again especially if I'm, like I said, sick or sleep deprived, or something is on my mind. Hormones can affect that too. When I was pregnant especially, it was really difficult to focus on anything. And, you know, depending on where I am in my cycle, sometimes that comes into play like a little bit less, to a lesser extent. When I was pregnant, that was a whole other thing. But so, I wanted to talk about that, especially when it comes to medication, because ADHD medication hasn't really worked for me very well. And the reason why it hasn't worked very well for me is because it doesn't really address the controls of the focus. It does make the attention brighter. So it makes like if you're, you know, have this analogy, the bulb is brighter. So I can see things in more detail if I'm already concentrating on it. It doesn't allow me to see anything else in the periphery. In fact, it actually decreases my ability to see the peripheral things because the light is brighter. So it is very much a spotlight, a huge spotlight on one thing, and it doesn't help with the controls at all. I still swivel here, there, and everywhere when I'm sleep deprived. It also inhibits my ability to sleep, so it makes that worse. When I am sleep deprived, then I am going from this thing to this thing to this thing. And I get things done because I'm going from thing to thing very clearly and very fast, but I can't switch my attention. So like if my kids are bothering me while I'm, doing something, sending an email, then I snap at them because I'm so frustrated. I'm frustrated at not at them, but at my inability to pay attention to them while I'm doing this thing. And that's actually what a lot of my frustration, my day-to-day frustration is my inability to switch attention from thing to thing easily and the way I want it to go. I want to be able to, pay attention to my kid who is interrupting me and then go back to what I was doing without having to start all over, without getting distracted, but that doesn't usually happen. So usually what happens is, like, if I'm driving, focusing on the road, my kid will say something in the back seat and I don't process at all what he's saying because I'm tuning him out. I can't focus on him because then if I focus on him, then I can't focus on the street, and obviously that's a priority. If you are driving, you have to focus on where you're going and you have to focus on driving. So that's how I think my brain works, and the medication, ADHD medication, doesn't really do that. At least the medications I tried, which is Adderall and Ritalin. I think I tried a couple other things, I can't remember. But I do take Wellbutrin, and that does help because it makes the spotlight bulb a little bit brighter, but it does not affect the controls. It doesn't affect it doesn't affect my sleep either, so I can stay rested and therefore more able to switch my attention. So I personally like the Wellbutrin. So that's basically all I had to say on that topic, I think. Can't really remember, but go ahead and comment, obviously, if you have any insights as to, this whole topic. Okay, so my first, YouTube video. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's kind of representative of my life in general, but anyway. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time, I guess.